It's about that time of day again. Welcome back to Nightly Newsletter, boys and girls. Joseph James here. It's Thursday evening, October 27th, 2016. Crude is bullish and trading at the low of a channel. E-mini S&P is bearish and trading at the low of a wedge. Gold is range-bound and trading at the low of its channel. And the euro is bearish and trying to complete a measured move after a collapse off today's highs. Boy, we're ready to finish up what has been a great last full week of October. We've had a great week in our trade room, had a great week on this newsletter, and we got another reliable strategy and plan for you guys tomorrow. I got a great newsletter for you guys and gals tonight. Before we jump into our charts, though, don't forget, only place to watch the full-length version of this video is here on our blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're watching the video right now on our YouTube channel, not to worry, there's a link in the description of the YouTube video. Follow that link. Come over here and join me on the blog at Sideways Markets for the full-length version. And while you're here, don't forget, join the mailing list. Upper left-hand corner, I'll send you an email every evening when our nightly newsletter goes live. Below the video tonight, don't forget, you can download all the charts that I'm using in my video tonight. Have them ready on your computer for tomorrow. In the upper right-hand corner, don't forget, if you're not a member, grab your free pass. Come out and join me as a guest in the trade room on a free pass. And, of course, in the upper right-hand corner, if you're brand new here to SOT, we get a great frequently asked questions page on our blog that will answer all the common questions that we get every day from our new students. I'm always here hanging out, ready to help you guys out. Use the live support button on the right-hand side of the blog if you got any questions for me. And I look forward to working with you guys here tomorrow morning in real time in our trade room. As I always remind you guys, our trade room opens up Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern time. I'm excited to see you guys tomorrow. We wrap up the last full week of trading. We do have one more day left in October. We got the 31st, right? Don't forget about those Halloween costumes. 31st, of course, being next Monday. So we still got a couple more days left of the month of October. Right? Always a great month out of the year. Tomorrow, Friday, October the 28th, a lot of news kind of scattered throughout the day tomorrow. We get some news coming out of Asia tonight, right? Our good friends, the PPI from down under, the Aussies here will give us their PPI at 8:30 p.m. tonight Eastern time. I don't think that's going to be too big of a market mover out there, but there is some news in the overnight session. Tomorrow we open up in France at 1:30, and then we jump down to the economic sentiment number from the ECB at 5 a.m. I would imagine that's going to be the headlining number tomorrow morning from London. 5 a.m. news tomorrow. And then, of course, we go down to the U.S. session tomorrow, of course, at GDP at 8:30 a.m., ECI at 8:30, and then consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. So kind of a peppering of news starting tonight from the Australians. And, of course, tomorrow, right, we have the 1:30. Again, I would imagine, though, the market moving news here, the economic sentiment tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. and, of course, that GDP tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Now, of course, it is a Friday, so, of course, Fridays always mean early in, early out, get to it early. Anything after 11 a.m. tomorrow is going to be highly suspicious, low volume, low liquidity. Remember, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, which of course will apply tomorrow on a lot of different terms, we have traders taking bigger risks. You have traders trying to dig themselves out of holes, taking trades and taking risks that they normally wouldn't take. So end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, and again, end of tomorrow, end of the week, end of the month, you're going to see traders taking bigger risks. There's a self-fulfilling prophecy to it at the end of the day on Friday too. Volume will dry up, so be careful. My job on Fridays is to get in early, get out early, right? Make those ticks, and then get out there, enjoy the weekend. Now, speaking of the weekend, please don't forget, I know, too bad. Summertime's over, and we get the official daylight kind of switch here in London and Europe over the weekend. Don't forget, we do not switch our times Eastern time until, November 6th, something like that, right? First week in November. So we get a little bit longer. We get another week and a half here until we're going to be switching on Eastern time. If you're in Europe, end of summer coming, don't forget, right? You guys will be 1 hour closer to us, and we'll talk more about that next week on the newsletter, because as of next Monday, when it comes to Eastern time, right, 11:30 Eastern time is normally when the London session closes. It'll close at 10:30 Eastern time. Won't be like that very long, but it will have a bit of an effect at the end of the morning session. Again, Eastern time stays the same, right? Folks in Europe be moving the clocks, right, falling back. That means there's a smaller gap there between Eastern and whatever time zone you're in Europe. So make sure you set your clocks and make sure you remember that Eastern time is not changing. We will stay the same at least until the first weekend in November, right? And again, that will have an impact on Monday because whenever we have a time change, right, that will, of course, will bring that European close, which is usually 11:30 Eastern time. It'll move it to 10:30 Eastern time as we fall backwards. More to come on that on Monday. Don't forget, guys, enjoy yourself this weekend if you guys are out and about on your Halloween weekends. I'm sure there's plenty of Halloween parties scheduled for this weekend. I still wonder why they don't just make Halloween on the weekend. It would make everybody's life easier. I would enjoy it a whole lot more, right? We'll start a petition this year about making Halloween, right? They make Thanksgiving on a Thursday every year. Why can't they make Halloween on a Friday night, right? Or a Saturday, right? Wouldn't that make it a whole lot easier? They'd probably sell more candy. They'd probably sell more costumes. It'd make it a whole lot easier. Anyways, I know. Seems common, but, common sense these days, right? Ain't so common. Let's jump right in, though. So enjoy the weekend. Good luck to all the Europeans with their time change, right? And be safe. Make sure you come back here with all your fingers and toes after the, kind of Halloween weekend, so to speak. All right, I'm looking forward to it. Crude is bullish and trading at the low of a channel just above the battle zone this evening as the bulls attempt to reload and retest the highs while the bears try to hold this pullback and make a run back to retest the lows. The bulls have control, clearly, and they want to see the sellers fail and look for a breakout pullback above that moving average to buy back up to retest the highs tomorrow. Sellers, on the other hand, need to hold this pullback for a move down to the battle zone and then hold another pullback below that 49.33 support level for an opportunity to make a run back to retest the lows. The bulls are hunting for the $50 level, the wedge target, and don't forget about last week's closing price at $51 a barrel. If this market gets a little bit of crazy tomorrow, that $51 a barrel is last week's closing price. At this point, it seems a little bit ridiculous to get there right now, but Fridays are always very much a variable because, like I said earlier, traders take bigger risks. They do things they won't do on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, right? Once the week starts to come to a close, traders start getting pinched. They're either trading with house money or they're trading right in a debit to their account. They're trying to make that stuff back. So we may see a nice low volume move right late in the day tomorrow up to finish that closing price off at $51 a barrel. So keep that in mind tomorrow. Sellers, of course, will be hunting for the low of day and that prior month high. They still haven't been able to get down to that prior month high. I would imagine that 48.79 prior month high all the way down to the bottom of this chart, I would imagine that will be seen as a beautiful buying opportunity tomorrow if we do get there. So as you can see on the chart right now, pretty easy here, right? We got a couple key components here. First of all, I get the bull channel. And we're trading right at the low of that bull channel. When I'm at the low of a bull channel, the first thing I'm thinking is failure, right? We're below the moving average, right? So now sellers will try to hold, and the first thing I'm thinking when I'm at the low of a bull channel is seller failure and then breakout pullback. These are going to be two spots you definitely want to be watching here for buying opportunities on the way back up to retest that high. The second piece of this puzzle is going to be this wedge, right? This wedge, cute little guy here. This ends up becoming a nice easy target for us overhead at 50.17. Whenever I see a wedge, the first thing I think of is give me a trap, right? Give me below one of these prior swings. Allow me now to failure, pull back, and go, right? So lots of clues here right now at the low of the channel, right? At a swing level off of a wedge. And next thing, obviously, we talked about this last night on the euro, but if we do get to that wedge target, remember that becomes pretty significant resistance. And if we get there, we have to get through it, hold above it, and then have the ability to go forward. What do the bears have going for them right now? The bears have a pretty good little channel going here, but double up target, $50 a barrel. This is probably at this point fueled by profit taking. The bears really have to get through this area here to really be out of the woods here right now, because you have to think with such a strong move today, with $50 a barrel just kind of staring you right in the face, this may end up being nothing more than a trading range tomorrow, right? And we may see this market kind of roll around here using that 50 as the magnet, and buyers keep buying that low. So, strong move up, possibly, right? Possibly a trading range. Look to buy the low of that range tomorrow. It may even widen, right? It may even widen. The range may look like this. We don't really know enough yet. If I had to guess right now, though, I would guess this is going to be, right, if we do end up breaking into a range. So what do the buyers want? What do the sellers want? Well, again, like I said earlier, right, the buyers would love to see something like this. Now let's get that going even further here, right? Buyers would love to see sellers try to hold. They fail, right? Of course, if they fail, that becomes a beautiful buying opportunity here now for a nice jump off those lows, right? So seller failure into pullback. Then, of course, again above the double up and again above the wedge. And again, at that point now, right, you're using the moving average here now, right? So again, it's seller failure, breakout pullback. Keep it together below the low of this channel, right? These are all important pieces of this puzzle. I want the moving average to be below the price. I want the low of the channel to be below the price, right? As we go higher here, right? These are all small details you want to keep in mind. And then again, as we said earlier, right, that $50 a barrel area, more importantly, the double up objective there at 50.02, that's going to be a critical area. Notice how I'm drawing this illustration, the moving average, right? The yellow moving average, get that up above that 50.02, and then again up above that wedge target. Remember, wedge targets can be difficult because they're probably not going to be just one specific price level. So why don't we be more conservative here and say get that moving average above 50.20, right? Because it might be 50.20 down to 50.15. Those wedge areas are always a little bit tough to pin down because you're obviously trying to define exactly where these two trend lines are coming together. Right? So the most important thing right now for the buyers is don't let these sellers take control. Get above that moving average, seller failure, breakout pullback, and then again, watch these highs. Get the moving average up above the double up. Get the moving average up above the wedge, and then again, watch that final runner target at $51 a barrel. Now, what if the sellers do hold this? Okay, here's a couple scenarios you want to be thinking about. Sellers may be able to hold this and get a scalp down to that battle zone. Here's one scenario you want to be thinking about here, right? Sellers do hold. They take short-term control. They can't keep it going. And then we see that breakout, pull back, and now the buyers have a shot here now, right, to be a buyer on the way back up. Right? So sellers, if they can hold control here, this is always a difficult spot because you're the first one in on the way down. You're messing with this battle zone. I want nothing to do with the battle zone when it comes to being a seller in this case, just because they're going to be long-term buyers digging their heels in here and trying to buy with the odds of going back up to retest that high. So if the sellers do hold this, what I was trying to get at before was, if the sellers do hold this, now what you want to be thinking is we got to take this thing back if you want to be a buyer, right? If you want to be a buyer, you've got to take it back now. There's a couple opportunities here that you can think about. One would be right, again, we're talking about buyers here right now. One would be the 40-60 trade, right, which of course would be the seller failure inside the battle zone. The other one, the one I would rather have you take, will be up here. This will be the 60-40 trade, right? Not the 40-60 trade. Much more reliable when it comes to long-term, the law of the law of large numbers there to get that move back up to that high. So it pulls back here. If it goes into the battle zone, it will become a short-term bear market. So wait for it to turn and then, right, get those dips on the way back up. Now, another scenario here you can look for, as the sellers go lower, if they do hold that pullback, they take control. I would then be looking for another opportunity here now in below that 49.33. Remember, the moving average I'm illustrating here is important. First, the sellers have to hold the pullback here. If they can't hold the pullback here, the buyers take it and we make a run back to the highs. That's pretty easy. If they hold the pullback, they take control. I want nothing to do with selling inside the battle zone because there are so many buyers that'll be trying. But if they fail and we can clear below this 49.33, then we should have a reasonably confident seller there, right, to get down to that low. Now, the objective for the sellers, of course, will be at the low of day at 49 even, but, that prior month high, I would imagine, tomorrow's a Friday. Sometimes we see big runs on Fridays because the volume drops, and we may see that tomorrow, right, for the bears. So watch that prior month high, watch that prior week close. At the end of the week, we oftentimes see prices try to make a run for last week's levels, last week's high, last week's low, last week's close, and we're going to see a little bit more of that on the charts as we go through. Shall we keep going? Let's grab some S&P. E-mini is bearish and trading at the low of a wedge this evening, which tells us that sellers will likely be taking profit and looking to reload at resistance levels waiting overhead. Sellers have control. They got their double down, but they missed the measured move, which will likely be an easy target for them tomorrow, but they won't want to sell into the lows, which will give the buyers a big